Oh, can you still hear me?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Great.
All good. This is the level of my happiness these days. Just that, tech works.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mark, thank you so much for coming on Another Door. So we were just chatting before. Amazing career and development of your business, which I want you to introduce a little bit about it in a minute. But we were just smiling because you've just reinvented yourself as this incredible author as well. And you've got this cool book out. And I want to talk to you a little bit about that as well. So before we get stuck into your reinvention story, perhaps just tell us a little bit of background.
Okay. There's a lot of background.
How long have we got?
My name is Mark Maciver. I am the owner, founder of SliderCuts. SliderCuts is a brand that essentially started off as a barbering business, not even a barbering business, as a barber, because it was just one person. It was just me cutting hair. And through that, over the years, I have, constantly, I wouldn't say reinvented myself, but added on to what I've been doing anyway. And that was from content creations to comedy sketches to writing a book, public speaking, mentoring, teaching business, opening up a hair and beauty studios, which we're in right now. I'm in the back room. And there's probably a couple other things which I have forgotten, and this all started, I was like, to make it very brief, when I was 13, 14 is when I started cutting hair. I started cutting hair because one, I had an interest in hair, but also we couldn't afford to go to the barbershop. So I wanted a good haircut. My mom was cutting my hair. My older brothers were cutting my hair. I said, you know what? I need to try it myself and get one of those good haircuts I see in my schools with other kids. Tried it. It went wrong. Still couldn't afford to go to the barbershop. So I tried it again. And progressively, I just got better. And when I was 18, I got an unofficial internship in a barbershop where I started working there part-time around college. Then a few years after that, I became a co-manager of that shop. And around that same time, because I was self-employed, I was setting up a website for myself. And I was like, my nickname was Slider from when I was like 13, 14. Everyone referred to me as it. So I was like, oh, what should I call the website? Went with the name SliderCuts. I thought, use my nickname, put cuts on the end, SliderCuts. And that's kind of when that brand actually started building up and started. And then from there, it's kind of like, Facebook, Instagram, then everything I just done was under the brand of SliderCuts. And that just started kind of like blowing up until I was like 32, 33 when I opened up my own hair and beauty studio.
Oh my God, there's so much in there. Right. First things first. So people listening, this audience tends to be curious people, like they kind of maybe want to do something themselves, but they've got all that fear. Yeah. And like what you've just said there, you actually evolved, but you probably had to reinvent your mindset quite a few times. You could have kept yourself really small. You could have kept just being you as a barber, and that's cool. But how did you kind of fight through the fear and keep yourself big and, ambitious and make that next leap and the next leap?
One thing which I think has helped me a lot is not acknowledging the obstacle or acknowledging the fear, which is easier said than done. But it was almost like just like focusing on the thing which I wanted. And sometimes a lot of time it works out not thinking about the fear or thinking about the obstacles. Sometimes you get stung because you didn't think about the obstacles.
That's true. We're not going to pretend here. Things do go wrong.
There's things you just didn't think about. And it's like, whoa, I lost money on that. And I failed at that because I never thought about, everything properly. So, there are pros and cons to every mindset, right? Yeah. I've got a friend who overthinks everything. Like he analyzes everything. Like it's almost like it has to be a business plan to go to dinner.
Yeah. Oh gosh, I know that as well.
He won't move. He won't move without every T being ticked. I'm kind of like on the other end, right? So there's pros and cons to what he does, but there's pros and cons to what I've done. I say it to my wife all the time. With what I've done, I've taken a lot of risks, and I've lost. But then when it's paid off, it's paid off big. So I think one of the things was just not focusing on the obstacles, not focusing on the fear, but focusing on the goal of what you actually want. But I think it's easier said than done as well. So I'm not going to act like to people like just focus on your goal and the fear goes away. The fear still stays there. But I think one thing as well is that I've always said one of my biggest regrets will be if I look back on my life and I have loads of regrets.
Oh, yeah. So true. Yeah, that's massive. But then I guess, then you need to do the work to keep yourself going. As you say, fear isn't going to go away, so you're going to have to just sort of live with it a bit, I suppose.
Part of life.
Yeah. So I'm curious then, did you set out, so you're talking about your goals, did you have massive goals? Did you sort of like say, right, I am now going to be like in 2 years' time, I've got a celebrity list, I've got a this, I've got a that, I'm going to be this, I'm going to write a book. Did you set out with massive, great, big, scary goals?
No, you know what? No, I did not. My goals were actually more small. But because my goals were, they became bigger, but they started off small.
Yeah.
They're just small things like, I just want to be a good barber. That was my first goal. I looked at the barbers which were above me and around me. I was like, I want to be able to cut like that.
Yeah.
That was my initial goal.
Yeah. Well, that kind of felt achievable.
Yeah, and that actually felt like a big goal, because I remember looking at them saying, I don't know how I'm ever going to cut like that. They're so far ahead. I can't see how that's going to happen, So that's my first goal. And then it was like little things like, I remember I did this clothing line called SliderWear, just printing, and it's kind of like, there wasn't even no goal. I was just like, oh, I know someone who makes clothing. I can do it. Okay, I'm just going to do it. I didn't think it through. It didn't work out. It failed. So I had little goals like that. Just like, the goals were very much like, I guess with my goals, the good thing about my goals were that some of them were very easy to achieve, because it's like, I just want to set up this clothing line. So once I print, my clothing line set up. If I don't sell one, if I only print one, it's still set up.
Yeah.
I registered it, it's set up. I've done it, So it was just as I was going along, I kept on adding things onto it. So then it's kind of like, okay, I'm becoming a bit of a good barber now. And I was like, oh yeah, you know what? I should have a website, because I'm a business, so businesses have websites. Let me have a website. I didn't think about what would come even from the website.
Yeah.
Then I started getting all these new customers, because I was the only barber. Well, I was the only barber with a website, solo barber with a website at the time. I didn't realize at the time that what I was doing was ahead of its time, because I didn't know. Yeah. I didn't research the market. I was just like, businesses have websites. Then I kind of realized that, oh wait, only the big, at that time, this is like 12 years ago, 12 years ago, only the big barbershop chains had websites. It wasn't something that, small barbershops had, even like a solo barber. So it was like, cool, I've got that. Then, it's like, oh, I'm doing Instagram, doing Facebook, and then I'm like, oh, you know what? I'd like to do some talks. Okay, you know what? I'm going to put some talks out on Instagram. They're just small little goals, but what happens is, and I said I would like to one day be doing like talks and teaching people, right? But I saw that as a goal, which was over there. For me, it was kind of like, if I want to start this, then I need to start it. So the goal was almost just getting started.
Yeah. And
then the next thing happened, then I'm doing these talks, and then I'm like, I've done all these, I did the vlogs and I did the blogs at the same time. So when I'm looking at the blogs, I was like, there's about 10, 12 blogs here. This could be a book. I was like, oh, I wonder if I could make this into a book. And then I was like, yeah, I'd like to make this into a book. Then I was at a wedding. I saw someone who I knew who worked in a publishing company. And I just said, hey, I've got this idea. I wasn't even pitching it to her. I said, I've got this idea. What do you guys think of it? And a few days later, they came back to me because they had read all the blogs and thought it was a great idea. And they wanted to publish the book. So it was never kind of like I had all these things set out in the future, these big plans. What I'd say is, and this is what I've always used this analogy, all I've ever done was I could see 20 feet in front of me. I've just walked or ran to that point there. But what you notice is when you're running or you're walking, every foot that you go forward, you can see another 20 feet because your vision can see 20 feet in front of you. So even though I don't know what the world holds for me, and even now I don't know what in 10 years' time what is there, where I can see, I'm walking towards. And the world is bigger than my imagination. It's bigger than what I can see, bigger than what I know. So I just know as I keep walking towards those little goals, other things will open up and my vision will open up even further.
Oh my God. I love that. Bloody hell. That's just made me feel really empowered. Like it suddenly reduces overwhelm, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Like that's just really powerful image. Oh my God. I've got that in my head now. It's so true though. It's so true. And then the more you kind of progress, the more things keep coming at you. That's really cool. Right. So it sounds like you've got like you're quite intuitive then. Maybe you kind of like you're just kind of going with, okay, yeah, let's try this. You're staying open-minded basically to what's going to come. But tell me a little bit about fear. Like sometimes a fear creep will come in. Yeah. How do you deal with that? What advice would you give to people when the fear visits your way?
I think the important thing to realize, because this is actually a chapter in my book, actually, The Fear of Failure.
Yeah.
I think one of the important things to acknowledge about fear is this fear a logical fear that actually has real repercussions? Because there are some fears where it's kind of like, if I put my hand on the stove, there's real repercussions. So you should be fearful of that. You know, so you've got to acknowledge, is it one of the fears where it's kind of like, it's going to be harmful to me? Or is it more so like an emotional fear, where it's kind of like, what's it going to do to me emotionally? And I think those are one of the two things you've got to acknowledge and put them in their place first. You know, because obviously, if it's in the place of like harmful, then yes, you should be scared. If you see a lion, what do you call it, chilling there, and you're by your car, and you're like, should I jump out the car? I'm scared. Should I fight this fear? No, because this is actually where it's harmful. So this is a good fear. But then if it's kind of like actually, someone's telling me that I should come and do a talk, as example, is that a harmful fear or is that more of an emotional fear? And is that an emotional fear? And it doesn't mean that, what you call it, that you can't be affected emotionally, but then at least you put it in its correct place, first of all. You know, so you know that, okay, I acknowledge, okay, what's the worst that's going to come out of it? I'm going to feel embarrassed. I might stumble over my words. No, it's just about acknowledging it, right?
Yeah, it's so true. It's so true. You're not exactly going to get eaten, though.
You know, yeah, because I think sometimes we muddle up the two.
Yeah.
We're kind of like, you know, we put fear all in the same place, and it's kind of like, this isn't the same as your hand being burnt by the stove. You know, it is a fear, but it's not the same as that type of fear there. And I think, you know, when that fear comes, once you've acknowledged the place it's actually in, then it's about that question of what do you actually want out of this situation? And if you're going to do, you know, the job interview, you want the job. That's why you're going to the job interview, because you want the job. The thing you don't want is to not get the job. So first one's kind of like just acknowledging, what do I actually want? I want the job. Okay, so why am I afraid to go for the job interview? Because I might not get it. And the rationality behind that is, if I don't go for it, I'm not going to get it. Now, it's easier said than done, because so what I talk about in the book is about getting help from people. The biggest thing you've got to do, first of all, is acknowledge your fears and acknowledge your issues. Because if you can't acknowledge your issues, then you can't address them. And once you've acknowledged them, it's about trusting in people even around you. Because, you know, this world is filled with people. We're not in it to strive alone. You know, we're not in it alone. We're not sure to be walking alone. So, you know, sometimes we keep some of our fears and our issues to ourselves. And it's kind of like we weren't made to walk it alone. So once you've acknowledged your issues, then it's kind of like, okay, cool. Who can I trust in? Who's a trusted person or persons? You know, so when these things start creeping up, it's kind of like, okay, I can't think rationally right now. But what I can do is speak to my friend or my trusted person who I speak to, say, look, I'm feeling this way right now, so on and so on, and let them kind of speak more truth into the situation, and that logic you can't speak into it yourself, or that encouragement that you might need. So I think there's just different things you can do, and it's not just as simple as always being like, just fight the fear and just do it, because you might not. So get help.
Yeah. That's so true, though. I mean, what you're saying, you know, it is the irony, isn't it? Like, we really want that job, that example.
Yeah.
But the fear holds us back, and we start telling ourselves a nice, comfortable story about, well, you're not good enough, you won't get it anyway, so what's the point? All of this stuff, and so you just don't bother. So you've instantly failed. Yeah. When really, like you failed before you've even started. When really, if you really want the job, take the first step.
You have a chance. And you know, also another thing I think happens, and I speak to this to my wife, right? If someone heard me say this out in the street, right, and they didn't have any context to it, they'll think I was horrible. But my wife understands it. I don't even say it. Well, I'm saying it.
Come on, we want to hear it now.
I have this thing which I say to her, I say, you're not that important. Right?
Oh, yeah.
And the whole thing is sometimes when she might start being like, oh, is this okay to wear? I wore this before. Will people think, oh, she wore that again? Or all these type of things there, right? And it's just saying, you know what? You're not that important. And the whole premise behind it is just that we are not that important. We are not as important as we make ourselves feel sometimes, you know. I said, there are people out there, realistically, if Kim Kardashian wears the same thing twice, there'll probably be a lot of blog people just saying, we saw her wearing that dress, yesterday, probably, right? Because she's got hundreds of millions of people who follow her. But when we look at ourselves, reality, when we step outside, there's no one taking pictures of us. No one actually cares that much, okay, we wore this. I started wearing the same suits before, right? I used to wear a different suit to every wedding I went to. I remember when I was younger.
Oh, wow. Yeah. The big wedding outfit. Yeah.
New suit. I stopped doing it because I came to realize nobody cares that I'm not getting married. I'm not that important.
It's not about you.
No, I'm not that important when people are going to say, well, you wear that blue suit in the last wedding I saw you in. And it's just kind of like, you're just not that important. And also, when you say you're not that important, you know what it does? It just bursts your balloon just to shrink everything back down to real size. It's just like, actually, yeah, you're right. My wife would be like, yeah, you're right. You're right. Because sometimes we're just building ourselves up. And it's just like, it's not, we're building ourselves up, or people are going to care. They're going to be talking. They're going to say this. They're going to say that. They're not even going to notice.
Yeah. That's actually quite liberating. It's not a nasty thing. Like, I know what you mean by, oh, you're not that important, but the whole sentiment is quite liberating and freeing, because it just means just get on with it. Like, stop overthinking, stop overanalyzing, and just live this free sort of world of what you want to do. So I do understand what you mean by people could be like, all right, thanks, I'm not like, yeah, exactly, thanks very much for that one. But it's about free yourself up from the drama and just go and enjoy it. Oh my god, I bet people could resonate with that though, like how much we agonize over these little things that just don't matter, and yet, I mean, how many things that do matter, and then we don't agonize over it. That's the point, isn't it? The things that we really want, going back to that sort of job interview example where you really wanted it, so just get on with it, create the space to get on with it.
And there's so much people who are stuck in this place. Like when I wrote that chapter, it came from a friend of mine that I grew up with, who was always kind of like just always letting me down, in a sense, or himself down as well. He would show up to things, would never turn up, would always kind of have an excuse. And I was just kind of like, when I was younger, I was just like, this guy's just not serious. And when we got older, a few years back, he just told me, he goes, I don't know why, because I get so afraid to fail. And he's just like, I feel like it's easier just not to do it, because, then he hasn't failed. It feels like, he hasn't failed. But that was built up from him as well, because what he was doing was, one, his insecurities was making him boast about things. So he got caught in this cycle where now your insecurities are making you big yourself up, but now you feel like you have to live up to that standard that you have set for yourself among your peers. And now you think that they care that much and they're watching you that closely, so that if you don't achieve this thing, they're going to laugh and this and all those things there. So now you're just stuck in this cycle. And now he's afraid, so it's kind of like, well, if I didn't turn up, then he can still be like, well, I didn't turn up. I would have got that if I would have gone, but I didn't go.
Yeah. That's it. The story you're telling yourself, and then you get stuck. And I guess that comes back to what you said though. Find good people around you that then you can just be honest. Like, look, I'm not feeling confident, or I've got fear, or just have that honest conversation. Could be the moment that your life changes and you actually do start getting what you want, and you don't have to hide anymore. That's huge, isn't it? That one conversation with someone. So I want to ask you about the writing of the book. So you say, you started blogging. Weird enough, that's what I did too. So there you go. Shaping up culture. I'm definitely going to be, I tried to get it quickly, as I said, to read it before we got on here, but I was like, oh my God, it's a day. How do you get an express book? But I did the same. I just started blogging and just writing about stuff. And then, one day it turns into something. But you're going to have to reinvent yourself now. You're now an author. That's a whole new world. So what's your process for going through that? How did you get yourself in a space to create time to write a book? Because I know, for one, that is not easy. And it's really easy to say, tomorrow I'll do a chapter. Tomorrow. How did you do it?
You know what? Well, one, I woke up at 4 every morning and I wrote at 4 a.m. because I'm most productive in the morning. I'm not that productive at night. Like, my brain can't write at night time. I've tried so many times. You just wake up and bunch of scribble because you just slept off. But you got your phone in your hand, you're just typing, and just kind of like letters everywhere. So,
nonsense.
So I think it's important to find your time, because everybody has different time they operate on. I know some people say they work best at night. I don't understand it, because for me, coming in the morning is the best time. So it's finding that time, right? And I found that time like in the morning. So when I'm in the morning, I'm the freshest, I'm the most on it, I'm the most eager. So I'd wake up in the morning and write for however long, an hour, 2 hours, however long before I went to work. And also when it came to the information, my brain ticks so much and it's got so much going on. It wasn't really about finding the information. For me, it was about, cutting down the information to bite size. So that's how it was for me. I went way over the word count. Like even when I get to the editors and the publishing company, they're kind of like, you've gone over, and like we need to cut this down because this was the limit. And I thought maybe they would have just allowed the words to go through, but they're just like, no, we need to cut it down. Like, okay.
That's book 2. So you've done book 2 already because that's the edits. Well, but then that's the challenge. It's one thing to decide, like what you said, you're a pretty driven guy. So you just be like, right, I'm going to write a book. I'm going to create the space to do it. So number 1, people listening, that's what you have to do. Create space, even if it's at 4:00 in the morning. Oh my God. I did do it at 5:00 though. So I was only an hour after you, but it's true. Create the space. So do that. But you still have to be pretty determined and committed to what you're doing, don't you? And then go through all of that journey and experience of like, oh my God, I'm going to have to edit my own work. And I'm going to have to like be brutal. Like, what are the messages that I really need to get? That's where the hard work really kicks in. So how did you go about that?
Well, you know what? Because I had a publishing company, they were helpful. And this is where it comes back to, teamwork and running with people, not running by yourself. Even if you're self-publishing, that doesn't mean that you should do everything yourself because you're self-publishing. Still get help, still get people to read over your things, and because you might have all these ideas and know what you're talking about, but that doesn't mean that you're conveying that message correctly to other people. You know what you're writing. So with a publishing company, they'll read over my stuff, and they'll give edits like, what you were trying to say here. Do you think you could like say it in more layman's terms as an example, or they'll say, maybe you could hit the point a bit harder, or ask me questions like, the demographic, who you're writing it to, the young people, old people. So I remember one of the things they put up on me, they're saying, some of the examples you're saying are very like for older people. Maybe you should change your examples because you want it for younger people. Maybe change your examples to examples that younger people can understand. So maybe not that we don't talk about, but maybe instead of saying, buying your first house, how about, it's kind of like something younger. It's kind of like, what about, buying your first pair of trainers yourself? Because it makes it more relatable. Because it's just about reminding yourself, oh yeah, you're right. Actually,
who are you doing this for?
Who am I writing this to?
Yeah.
Who do I want? Who do I want to pick this up and take this on? And it's like, oh yeah, so the examples maybe should. So looking through my examples, and actually I should change the examples, make them a bit more, to this age group, and so it's basically just having help. Having someone from the outside just read your work and just you tell that person what you're trying to convey, and they can say to you whether they feel like you're conveying it or not.
That's important. Get other people involved in your dream. Get them involved in your goal, and it's going to make it so much easier. It's making me laugh because how did you feel about realizing you're the old guy?
The old guy?
Yeah, you need to make this way younger. What? I am the young person. Oh my God, that's funny.
I woke up recently and realized that I'm not actually, I'm not that kid anymore. I think when you play sports makes you realize that. When you're stretching beforehand and you're stretching afterwards, and you remember the days that you just get on a full pitch, play, then come and go home.
Big reminders all around. But again, reinvention, that's all it's all in your mind, how you deal with it. So I'm curious to know what the next reinvention is. What's next in your mind? I know that we're looking 20 foot ahead now. Like, what's opening up? Where would you like to go next?
Or the things I'd like to do. Well, I've got my hair and beauty studio, and I've just done a collaboration, and I've done like a mobile van, so we can do like delivery services to people at their home, like food. You can come get your hair done, done at the shop, or you can order a service and we can bring it to your house, which costs a bit more, but it's almost like having a chair on the roads. That's the thing which I'm kind of like doing now. Then also, the thing I want to do is I want to open up a barbering academy, but I want it to be a barbering/business academy. So I just don't want to teach people how to cut hair. I want to teach them the business side of things, which no other academy does right now. They just teach you how to the basics of cutting hair, health and safety, and they send you out there, and they have no knowledge of what to do, what to expect, how to market themselves, what deals are good. And I'm like, I would love to have an academy where we taught them how to cut hair on top of that, though, taught them all of these things as well. And even with that Barbering Academy, I'd like to even be more, in the future, if it came from a Barbering Academy and ended up being like a beauty academy as well. The hairdressing as well.
Yeah. Oh, wow. And then how to write a book and make that out of business. It's just going to keep going. Keep going. Well, that's the message, though, that I would kind of like people to take from what they've heard today from you, that keep evolving, keep open, and grow with it. Grow with what's coming your way. What's your one piece of advice for people? So somebody's sitting there, they want to change their life. They want to reinvent themselves. They want to do something different. What's the one piece of advice that you would give them?
One piece of advice is cliche, obviously. Do the things you want to do. But how to come up to that movement of, action, I would say is when you look back at your life, this thing I've said to myself, I'm going to hate if my regrets are the things I never tried. Because I'm not going to have any regrets for failing. So I'm not going to have a regret that I raced you and I lost. If I tried and I couldn't do anything right, I'm going to regret not knowing if I would have beaten you. So that's what drives me, the fear that we only live once. This life is long, but it's also short. So you want to live it to some degree to the fullest. And I'm not talking about, means go outside and just jump off a roof because you live it to the fullest. But I'm talking about, I'm not saying that. But I am saying to you that these things that you want to do, you've only got one life to do these things. So when I get to my end of my life, I know I'll look back and say, I should have just done the race. I should have taken up cooking. I should have taken up dance. I should have learned to roller skate. Why was I not doing all these things and have all these regrets for the things I didn't do? So my advice to you guys is do not be fearful over failing. Be fearful over not trying.
Yeah. Wow. That's incredible. I love that. That's where we're going to end. Where can people find you and where can they buy your book, Shaping Up Culture? Where can they buy that and where can they find you for more information?
You can buy my book and have all my information from my website, SliderCuts.com.
I'll put it in the notes as well, so everyone can just click on it. Yeah.
And I'm on every platform, YouTube. I've put up YouTube videos, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, Pinterest, TikTok, my website, everything, just under the name SliderCuts. So fortunately, I've got my name on all platforms.
You're all over it. No, that's good. I was doing a little bit of research today as well, and it's really impressive what you've done. And I got overwhelmed with social media when I sort of set up, and I had to just focus on like one thing. So you gave me energy again for like, okay, maybe I go back and embrace this in a different way, because I just got overwhelmed and I had to like shut it all down. And so I was looking and I was thinking, okay, embrace this again and just get out there. So you gave me energy today, so thank you very much.
Great.
Thank you so much, Mark. I know you're a busy man, you've got lots of things going on, so I really appreciate your time. So thank you very much.
Thank you for having me.
Take care, Mark. Bye.
Bye.